Welcome to another edition of Health Options. I am Rabi, Abdallah. Thanks for joining us on the program. Nigeria is among the 14 high-burden countries for tuberculosis and HIV, and multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. The country is ranked 7th among the 30 high tuberculosis burden countries. This, no doubt, underscores the need for concerted efforts towards the reduction of the burden of the disease. The new WHO and TB strategy for the control of the disease was adopted by the country in 2016 with the goal of ending tuberculosis epidemic in Nigeria. This edition of Health Options takes a look at the country's TB burden and what is being done to stem the tide. Onions are often considered as one of the healthiest foods you can think of, packed full of nutrients. Join us on our Nature Scanner for the amazing health benefits of onions. What posture do you adopt when you have to move your bowel? What you may not know is the fact that you could predispose yourself to constipation, which can lead to more serious health issues such as cancer if you are not using the right posture. You will get to know the right posture to adopt and how to sit correctly on your toilet seat for effective bowel movement. Stay with us. This is Health Options, and we're taking a look at Nigeria's TB burden and efforts at stemming the tide. We take this background report by our correspondent, Hakimat Aliyu.
It is estimated that about 470,000 people in Nigeria are affected by TB each year. Some die as a result of the disease, while some get treated. In Nigeria, the problem of TB is worsened by the issue of drug-resistant TB and the HIV and AIDS epidemic. Another major issue is the low TB case finding, with a treatment coverage of just 25.8%, leaving huge gaps of cases which were undetected. However, all hope is not lost, as the National Tuberculosis and Leprosy Control Program under the Federal Ministry of Health is working towards significantly reducing the public burden of the disease.
I believe we are making progress. Progress to ending TB in Nigeria.
For the country, we must reduce our own share of that casualty figure. We must be able to improve our capacity to diagnose and treat.
TB is one of the killer diseases of our time. Therefore, I would like to take this opportunity to call on all individuals in Nigeria with a history of over 2 weeks of cough and fever to visit the healthcare center that does TB check.
Many thanks, Hakimat. And to take us through Nigeria's TB burden and efforts at stemming the tide is Dr. Ayodele Awe. He is the coordinator of tuberculosis response at the WHO country office. Thanks for joining us on Health Options, Dr. Awe.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. You know what keeps boggling my mind? At the mention of tuberculosis, I just keep wondering why it had remained a public health issue in this part of the world, when we know that the statistics that we will, it's so disturbing.
Nigeria, as you've mentioned, ranks the highest now in terms of magnitude. Is the number one biggest problem of TB in Africa. We used to be second. We had a prevalence survey that was done to look at what is the magnitude. And as at last year, the magnitude of TB is usually being described about the number of cases you see each year. So in Nigeria, we have a 219 per 100,000, using the population of 190 million. So it means that we are expecting about 400,000 cases every year.
Why is it on the increase?
Now, the problem why it's on the increase is, one, we are not detecting as much. If you do not detect one TB case each year, it has a multiplier effect. One TB case positive that is coughing will infect 15 to 20 persons in a year. All the effort that we put together as a national program with all the partners for the past 8 years, we are only able to detect 25% of our cases. Even last year, we are only able to detect 104,000. So what I talk about is awareness. Awareness that coughing for 2 weeks or more could be tuberculosis, and quickly go for test. So we are asking that through the media, people should have that high index, high awareness, and in hospitals, in facilities, index of suspicion. Always ask for the duration of the cough. How long have you been coughing? How long have you been coughing? If it's more than 2 weeks, the government, now what we have done over the years is that we have provided several facilities where you can go and get tested. Unlike malaria, you can get tested anywhere. Every facility in Nigeria.
But would you say you have built the capacity of health practitioners in that regard?
Exactly.
Because it's an issue. If I've been coughing for 2 weeks and I went to a health facility and the person that is attending to me doesn't seem to know, know what to do, I think it's a bigger issue.
We have not been able to increase the capacity of all health workers, doctors, nurses, in all health facilities in Nigeria. That's maybe about 60,000. But we have been able to provide effective services in about 900 facilities. So we have about 18% coverage of facilities. You have to look at
what sort of services do you render in those facilities?
In about 9,000 facilities that spread all over Nigeria, ranging from tertiary institutions to general hospitals, to special medical centers, to primary health care centers, and to dispensaries. We call these facilities dot centers. What we have done is to train all the health workers in that facility, particularly the ones in OPD, to increase their awareness to increase the index of suspicion that any person that is coughing for 2 weeks or more could be tuberculosis, and also to provide all that is needed for that facility to be able to screen that patient. So screening is first history. Are you coughing? Say yes, I'm coughing. For how long? 2 weeks or more. If you are coughing for 2 weeks or more, they will give you a form that you collect your sputum and get tested.
Actually going to ask you about gene expert. What do you call it?
Gene expert.
Gene expert.
Yes,
how much do we even have enough?
No, that's what
to go around.
Now, instead of using microscope now, in 2014, the global adopted that rapid molecular diagnostic machine called the Gene Expert. The Gene Expert machine is able to detect tuberculosis within 100 minutes. 100 minutes. You cough in a container, they pass into the machine, and 100 minutes you find out whether you have tuberculosis, and also it would also tell us whether that tuberculosis you have is a resistant tuberculosis. Because each machine in a normal health facility that works from 8 to 12, 8 to 5, can only screen 12 sputum samples. So it is not enough. So this is one of the reasons why we are still not be able to detect several of the 400,000 cases we are supposed to see, because our diagnostic facilities is not able to cope with those who need it.
I'm worried about the fact that we moved from that position of second in Africa to the top now. Isn't that worrisome enough?
Now, because the other countries are able to support I will say this. It doesn't take so much for us to ensure that the 774 local government has at least one Gene Expert machine. If you have one Gene Expert machine, we will have increased the ability to diagnose so many.
So that's the advocacy that you're sending out.
That we are sending out.
The wife of the president, talking about Aisha Muhammad Buhari now, is TV champion.
Yes, yes.
What are some of those gaps you want to see closed by her own advocacy and lending her voice?
Nigeria now, she's not only our TV champion, Nigeria is now a global TV champion. It's a blessing to the program. We know what she has done for the childhood and adolescent, and we are happy that she has embraced TB, and globally now she's the one that is now bringing all the wives of other presidents together and talk about the need for government to commit themselves to support TB. she should bring all the wives of all the governors together. It does not take the wives of the governors to convince the husbands to buy at least maybe 5 gene experts for each of the local governments in the state.
We know TB to be one of the opportunistic infections of HIV.
Yes.
What does it portend for us if we don't give TB that concerted efforts that we need to really push it and make sure that we reduce the burden to the barest minimal in this part of the world?
Yeah. Now, the TB HIV co-infection rate is now about 24%. We have reduced it. There was a time it was all about 50. That if you have HIV, go and check that person's TB. If you have TB, go and check. So now it's been reduced. Why? Because TB is #1 infectious disease killer above HIV. It kills, is the one among all the infectious agents. TB is #1 killer now. The person living with HIV often dies of opportunistic infection, particularly tuberculosis. Because of their low immunity, they can catch tuberculosis easily.
Yes.
Not only they can catch tuberculosis easily, there is what we call latent TB infection. Every one of us has TB infection. Is domicile, yes, but is suppressed. But when your immunity is low, the latent infection, which is in everybody, including a person living with HIV, can come up.
It just
triggers it off. Yes. And then, so what we are doing now, in collaboration with the HIV program, that we are ensuring that every person living with HIV is screened regularly for history of cough, and they have a chest X-ray.
The layman's level now, what should we do to protect ourselves?
Now,
because you will know who a sufferer is. You are employing
fantastic,
a house help, and you don't even know what her state of health is.
I'm happy you are going there.
Yes.
People just think that tuberculosis is a disease of the poor social economy. It's among urban slums. So we are now seeing very rich persons having TB. We are seeing the children of very rich persons having tuberculosis. Why? Because they do not screen their ourselves.
Maybe you should emphasize those early signs for the benefit
the
of
early signs of tuberculosis. There are 2 categories of tuberculosis. One, we have the pulmonary tuberculosis. That is the tuberculosis that affects the lungs. It's usually the commonest. It's about 80%. But we have tuberculosis in other parts of the body, and we call them extra pulmonary tuberculosis. So we have tuberculosis. It can be in the bone, where you see tuberculosis. We also see in spine tuberculosis, meningitis. You can have tuberculosis even of the uterus. So they can cause even infertility. We have tuberculosis of the skin. We have tuberculosis of the kidney. Those are extra pulmonary tuberculosis. They are not as common, but yeah, they are like the pulmonary. So the commonest symptom for the pulmonary is coughing. So when it's 2 weeks and they are coughing and this cough is not going down, you have taken Septrin, it's not going. Expectorant, which are the first things that we do.
Yes.
Just ask. Go to health facility, ask them that I'm coughing. Almost all health facilities now are able to refer, even if they are not yet a TB treatment center, they will refer to place where you can use the gene expert machine and get tested. Nigeria adopted the NTB strategy, out of which we developed the National TB Strategic Plan. The National TB Strategic Plan is the Bible that has been directing us in what we need to do.
It's like the roadmap.
It's like the roadmap, and also it has also the budget. So all partners are supporting government in implementing that strategic plan.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Awe, for making it through Health Options.
Onion is the common name. It is scientifically called allium. Some of the common health benefits that we derive, that are derivable from the use of onions, either in cooked form, in fried form, or in raw form, as we go on. Now, scientifically, onions contains a lot of what we call the class of phytoconstituents we call flavonoids. One of the benefits of consuming onion, whether in boiled or in raw form, especially in raw form, is that it prevents what we call atherosclerosis or arthritis generally, and then it protects the heart. We call it cardiovascular protection and prevents coronary heart diseases. In fact, because of the presence of allicin and some other phytoconstituents in onion, it is actually able to reduce the cholesterol level in man. Another very useful medicinal properties of onion is its anti-diabetic property. It is very useful in diabetes mellitus, especially type 2 diabetes mellitus. Consumption of onion. In fact, we generally tell people that consuming at least 50 grams of onion on a weekly basis is enough to prevent you from having diabetes mellitus, and it is as good and as potent as that because of the compound that it contains. It contains allicin, it contains quercetin, it contains a lot of disulfide compound. You know, any medicinal plant that has a lot of sulfide, whether in di or tri form, a lot of sulfide is very, very potent in medicinal properties. And onion is a typical example. In fact, when you cut onion, you realize that if you cut raw onion, you start tearing. I mean, you start producing tears. Yes, because a very volatile material, compound, we call it propane diene S oxide. It produces, comes up and makes you tear. It has a very potent anti-asthmatic property. So that is because onion itself contains antihistamines. And antihistamines are useful in the management of asthma. So consumption of onion is one of the things that we encourage people who are even asthmatic if you don't react to onions. And that's because of its antihistamine component. So you can see that it is useful in asthma. Onion is useful in arthritis, in prevention and treatment of arthritis. Now, onion is, I mentioned quercetin just now. It's important to tell you too that it is a very potent antioxidant. Antioxidants generally antioxidants, they do what we call, they mop up the chemical compounds, we call them radicals, in the system that are responsible for destroying cells. And pharmaceutically, I'll tell you that they cause cancer. So because it contains this powerful compound that can mop up, that can scavenge, that's the word that we use scientifically, but it is like mopping up, it's like gathering and destroying it, because it contains those chemicals that will do this. It is able to prevent cancer. So if you eat onion regularly, the likelihood that you come down with gastric cancer, that is cancer of the stomach, or colonic cancer, cancer of the colon, is not there. These have been proven scientifically in our laboratories. Even breast cancer, it has been proven scientifically that consumption of onion can actually prevent breast cancer. It is a very powerful antimicrobial agent, onion. In fact, if you have flu or cold, onion alone is enough to settle you. And I say this based on scientific evidence that we have. If you have infectious cough that is caused by organisms that are susceptible to the chemical compounds found in onion. So if you have, for example, flu or cold or cough that is caused by all these organisms, then onion from the back of your house is enough to take care of that without you going to look for any chemical drug to take. It has a very pungent aroma which is irritating to many people. It also has its side effects, which includes skin irritation. It includes skin irritation because there are people who react to it. There are people who even react just to the smell. Yes, are allergic to the smell. Are allergic to it because it has a very pungent odor which some people cannot contain. But we always tell people it is when you are actually somehow healthy, that's when you may not like some aroma. When you are not healthy and you don't know, you will not even think about the smell or the aroma. You are only thinking of how to be well, and what we give you, you will not know. You only want to be well. So when you are well like this, and nature has provided you with something like onion, which you can use, which you can consume, which you can eat raw very well, which you can boil in your food, in fact, which you should have in your food every day, and I assure you, you will live fine.
Comfortable bowel movements. And talking about bowel movements, how do you sit on your toilet seat? Check this out. It's all about the informed options you need for a healthier life, and we hope you found this edition of the program useful. As we round up this edition of Health Options, a reminder that you can go to our YouTube channel to watch the upload of these and other episodes of the program. Email us for your comments and contributions at healthoptions@nta.gov.ng. My name is Rabi Abdallah. Many thanks for watching. Hope to see you again.